There are two kinds of secrets. The ones you hide from others. And the ones you hide from yourself. Michael Ross lived with both. To the world, he was ordinary. A mid-level operations manager at a shipping company near the Boston harbor. Reliable. Married. Predictable. A man whose life moved in straight lines. What no one knew was that every morning when Michael looked in the mirror, he checked which version of himself was staring back. Because Michael Ross was not his real name. And this was not his real life. 15 years earlier, Michael had been recruited for a job that never ends. Not by force. Not by blackmail. By choice. He was young, sharp, and invisible, the most dangerous combination. He could blend into any room. Speak without revealing. Listen without reacting. Perfect for undercover work. They told him it would last 2 years. That was the first lie. Michael's assignment was simple in theory. Embed himself inside a criminal logistics network suspected of international smuggling. Rise slowly. Gain trust. Report everything. No heroics. No shortcuts. But criminal organizations don't operate like corporations. They operate on loyalty. On shared risk. On bloodless violence. To survive, Michael had to become useful. Then indispensable. Then trusted. And somewhere along the way, he became real to them. That was the second lie. No one warned him what happens when the cover stops feeling like an act. When the relationships become genuine. When the danger feels earned. When the criminal world starts making more sense than the legal one. Michael married during his assignment. Not for strategy. For love. His wife, Anna, believed she knew everything about him. His job. His past. His fears. She didn't. Every time she asked about his childhood, Michael edited memories in real time. Every time she touched his hand, he wondered what would happen if she ever knew. Lies aren't heavy at first. They grow heavier with time. Years passed. Michael rose through the organization. He was no longer just observing crimes. He was preventing worse ones. Redirecting shipments. Delaying operations. Saving lives quietly. That was how he justified it. But justification is a dangerous thing. Because it slowly changes who you believe you are. Then came the message. Encrypted. Unexpected. Your cover is compromised. No explanation. No details. Just 4 words. Michael understood immediately. There are only 2 ways a cover gets compromised. Someone talks. Or someone decides you're no longer needed. Both end the same way. Badly. That night, Michael didn't go home. He sat alone in his car, watching the harbor lights reflect on dark water. For the first time in years, he wasn't sure which side he belonged to. Law enforcement had used him. The criminals trusted him. And his wife loved a man who didn't exist. If he disappeared now, everyone would suffer. If he stayed, someone would die. That was the moment Michael realized the truth about double lives. They don't split you in half. They slowly erase the middle. Michael learned the truth not from his handlers. But from a mistake. A single word used wrong during a routine meeting. The man who said it didn't notice. No one else did. But Michael froze. Because that word wasn't used in the criminal world. It was law enforcement language. Carefully neutral. Technically precise. A word trained into people who write reports, not run shipments. Someone else was embedded. That realization changed everything. For years, Michael believed he was alone. The only one balancing 2 lives. The only one walking the thin line. Now he knew better. There was another agent. And the most dangerous part wasn't that the agent existed. It was that Michael didn't know which side he was on. The man's name was Alex Monroe. Publicly, Alex was aggressive. Short-tempered. Loyal to the organization in loud, convincing ways. Too convincing. Michael began watching him. Not obviously. Not directly. Through reactions. Alex never panicked when shipments were delayed. Never asked unnecessary questions. Never drank too much. He controlled himself too well. The organization valued chaos. Alex didn't create any. Michael tested him. He fed him false information. A minor change in logistics. The next day, the change appeared in a police monitoring report. Not enough to stop the operation. Enough to confirm suspicion. Alex Monroe was law enforcement. Just like Michael. Except, different. Michael reported it. Carefully. Indirectly. His handler responded with silence. That silence was louder than any confirmation. It meant one thing. Alex was not on Michael's side. Which meant Michael was no longer trusted. Two undercover agents inside the same operation never exist by accident. They exist when someone wants to compare outcomes. Or eliminate liability. Michael realized he had become replaceable. That night, he went home earlier than usual. Anna noticed immediately. "You look like someone followed you," she said. Michael smiled. He always smiled. But something cracked. Anna had built her life around consistency. And tonight, he wasn't consistent. He watched her move through the apartment. The way she folded clothes. The way she talked about ordinary things. Michael thought about telling her everything. Then he imagined the consequences. Witness protection. Disappearance. A life built on new lies. Or worse. No life at all. The next day, the organization tested him. A shipment went missing. Not intercepted. Vanished. Michael was called in. No accusations. Just looks. In organizations like this, silence is interrogation. Alex sat across from him. Calm. Relaxed. Too relaxed. Alex spoke casually. "Funny thing," he said. "About people who live double lives." Michael didn't react. Alex continued. "They forget which version of themselves is real." That was the moment. The moment when two men looked at each other. And both knew. But neither could say it. Because saying it would mean death. Michael understood now. This wasn't about stopping crime. It wasn't about justice. It was about which version of the truth would survive. Law enforcement didn't want the truth. They wanted control. And Alex was their new solution. Michael had one advantage left. Time. Alex was aggressive. He wanted results. Michael was patient. And patience, in this world, is leverage. He began feeding Alex success. Small wins. Enough to make him confident. Enough to make him careless. At the same time, Michael quietly distanced himself from the core operations. He became administrative. Strategic. Less visible. That invisibility saved him. 1 week later, a raid happened. Perfectly timed. Too perfect. Alex was extracted. Officially. Alive. Michael watched the news in silence. The operation was framed as a victory. The organization collapsed partially. Enough arrests to look good. Enough survivors to keep secrets buried. Michael waited for his call. It never came. No extraction. No debrief. Nothing. He had been abandoned. Michael Ross no longer existed. The law had no use for him. The criminals suspected him. And his wife was married to a ghost. That night, Michael sat alone again. Same harbor. Same lights. Different man. A double life doesn't end when the mission is over. It ends when one version of you dies. And Michael didn't yet know which one that would be. Abandonment is quieter than betrayal. There are no warnings. No explanations. Just absence. Michael waited 3 days. Then 5. Then 10. No handler. No instructions. No extraction protocol. His phone stayed silent. That silence confirmed what he already knew. He had outlived his usefulness. In the intelligence world, that is the most dangerous position to be in. Because when you're no longer an asset, you become a liability. Michael stopped sleeping at home. He didn't tell Anna why. He said work was unstable. That part wasn't a lie. What he didn't say was that every familiar street now felt exposed. Every parked car felt intentional. Every sound at night felt measured. He began preparing for disappearance. Not escape. Disappearance is emotional. This was erasure. He destroyed old IDs. Wiped devices. Closed accounts. But the hardest thing to erase was routine. Anna noticed. She always did. "Are you leaving?" she asked one night. Not angrily. Not accusing. Just tired. Michael looked at her and realized something painful. She wasn't asking about work. She was asking about him. He tried to reassure her. But reassurance requires truth. And he had none left to give. Meanwhile, the criminal organization was reorganizing. Leadership fractured. Trust dissolved. Someone had tipped off the authorities. They didn't know who. But they knew someone had. Michael was called in again. This time, there was no pretense. The room was smaller. The tone colder. A man he barely knew spoke directly. "We're cleaning house," he said. "Everyone gets evaluated." Michael understood the implication. Double lives end violently. Unless you change the rules. Michael made a decision that night. He would stop reacting. And start acting. He contacted Alex. Not directly. Through an old back channel that only 2 agents would recognize. A phrase buried inside a logistics report. Alex responded within hours. That confirmed it. Alex hadn't moved on. He had been promoted. Protected. Michael proposed a meeting. Alex refused. So Michael sent him something else. A timeline. Clean. Precise. Showing how certain arrests had conveniently spared specific players. Showing how Alex's successes aligned with internal political goals. It wasn't an accusation. It was a mirror. Alex replied with one sentence. "You don't understand how this works." Michael smiled. That sentence told him everything. Alex believed the system would protect him. Michael knew better. Because Michael had already been discarded. And men who are discarded stop fearing consequences. The organization moved faster. Someone close to Michael disappeared. No body. No explanation. A warning. Michael didn't flinch. Fear makes mistakes. He began feeding both sides. To law enforcement, he leaked selective intelligence. Just enough to look useful again. To the criminals, he exposed minor informants. Enough to build trust. He became indispensable again. But now. To no one. That balance was unstable. And Michael knew it wouldn't last. Anna confronted him again. This time, she didn't ask questions. She gave him an ultimatum. Whatever this is, she said. It's not a job anymore. She was right. It was an identity. Michael almost told her everything. But he realized something devastating. If he told her now, he wouldn't be saving her. He would be pulling her into a war she never agreed to fight. So he chose silence. And silence has consequences. That night, Anna packed a bag. She didn't leave a note. She didn't have to. Michael sat alone in the apartment for hours. Surrounded by proof that one of his lives was already gone. Outside, the pressure tightened. Law enforcement wanted results. The criminals wanted loyalty. Alex wanted control. And Michael stood in the center of it all. No longer undercover. No longer protected. Just exposed. For the first time, Michael considered something he had never allowed himself to think. What if the only way out was to burn every version of the truth? There is a moment in every double life when balance becomes impossible. Michael reached it quietly. Not during a chase. Not during an arrest. But while standing alone in an empty apartment, listening to a refrigerator hum. Anna was gone. No confrontation. No drama. Just absence. The cleanest kind of judgment. That night, Michael understood something he had avoided for years. He wasn't protecting anyone anymore. Not the law. Not the innocent. Not even himself. He was maintaining a system that consumed people and called it order. That realization simplified everything. Michael stopped trying to survive. He started preparing an ending. The organization made its move first. A meeting. Mandatory. No excuses. The location was unfamiliar. That alone told Michael this was not a conversation. It was a verdict. At the same time, law enforcement reached out. A new handler. Young. Confident. He spoke in rehearsed certainty. You still have value, the handler said. But only if you deliver something big. They wanted a final act. A sacrifice. They always do. Michael agreed to both meetings. Because the only power left to him was timing. He spent the next 48 hours assembling something no one expected. Not evidence. A narrative. He combined financial flows, operational decisions, and arrest outcomes into a single timeline. It didn't accuse individuals. It exposed incentives. Who benefited? Who was protected? Who was expendable? It showed how both sides fed each other. Crime creating justification. Law enforcement creating leverage. A closed loop. Michael encrypted the file. Then he duplicated it. One copy scheduled to release internally within the organization. Another copy prepared for a congressional oversight archive. Not public. Not sensational. Permanent. The meeting with the organization came first. They didn't sit him down. They stood. That told him everything. They accused him calmly. Michael didn't deny it. Denial is a plea. Instead, he spoke. Not emotionally. Not defensively. He explained exactly how the operation had been compromised. Where? When? Why? He named Alex. Not as an agent. As a variable. A flaw. The room shifted. Michael watched men who trusted no one start doubting each other. That was enough. He left alive. Barely. The second meeting was with law enforcement. Different building. Same energy. They asked for names. Michael refused. They threatened prosecution. He didn't react. They offered protection. He smiled. You already had me, he said. You let me go. That ended the discussion. Michael triggered the release. Not publicly. Quietly. Institutions don't explode. They corrode. Over the following weeks, reviews began. Internal. Bureaucratic. Unavoidable. Alex was reassigned. Not punished. But sidelined. That hurt him more than prison ever would. The criminal organization fractured permanently. No clear leadership. Too much suspicion. Too much exposure. Michael disappeared. This time, completely. No new identity. No witness program. Just anonymity. Months later, Michael saw Anna by accident. Across a street. She looked different. Lighter. She didn't see him. He didn't approach her. Some truths are meant to remain incomplete. Michael understood now what a double life really costs. It doesn't destroy you all at once. It erases your right to belong anywhere. But it also teaches something rare. That systems don't deserve loyalty. People do. And even then. Only when they know who you really are. Michael never returned to the harbor. Some places don't belong to you anymore once they've seen who you really are. He chose a city where no one asked questions. A place where people passed each other without curiosity. Where anonymity wasn't suspicious, it was normal. He worked small jobs. Nothing strategic. Nothing connected. Just enough to exist. At first, that felt like punishment. Then it felt like freedom. The world continued adjusting without him. Quietly. Alex never recovered. Not publicly. But internally. He had built his identity on proximity to power. Once that was gone, nothing replaced it. He moved into consulting. Then teaching. Then obscurity. The organization never rebuilt. Too many fractures. Too much mistrust. It didn't collapse in flames. It dissolved. Law enforcement released no statements. No apologies. Institutions don't apologize. They archive. Somewhere in a climate-controlled room, Michael's file sat revised. Not erased. Corrected. That was the closest thing to justice he would ever receive. Years passed. Michael aged. The sharpness softened. The vigilance faded. But one habit remained. Every morning, when he looked in the mirror, he checked which version of himself was there. Not to hide it. To accept it. One evening, in a quiet bar, a man sat next to him. Older. Tired. They spoke briefly. About nothing important. Before leaving, the man said something strange. "You remind me of someone," he said. "A man who disappeared once." Michael nodded. "So do I," he replied. That was the truth. Double lives don't end with closure. They end with understanding. Michael understood now that the danger was never the criminals. Or the law. Or the lies. It was the moment he believed he could belong to both sides. Because no system will ever protect you if protecting you costs them convenience. And no identity survives being split long enough. Michael never told his story. Not publicly. Not privately. Some stories don't need witnesses. They need endings. And his ending wasn't victory. It was clarity. The quiet kind. The kind that doesn't change the world. But finally lets you live inside it.